What is going on, guys? Hope everyone's doing well. I want to talk about this knife. I've had it for close to a year now, and I've had some thoughts on it. I'm wearing the Seiko SSB003 for anyone that cares. For those of you that don't, sorry. But one of the things that I wanted to touch on with this knife is I think this knife is actually the ideal CEO knife. I think the CEO or gentleman style modern pocket knife has been kind of a misguided idea with a lot of the ones that I'm seeing that are labeled that way. So getting into it, this is the WE Banter, specifically in the carbon fiber. There are other versions. There's wood, there's G10, micarta, so there's a lot of different versions, but this one is by far my favorite. I think it looks the nicest, and I love the weight. Everything about it. I mean, it's very snappy. So we're looking at thumb stud operation. You can see there on this side we have the maker's mark, the "What is up, guys" logo for Mr. Ben Peterson. This is an S35VN shred carbon fiber for the handle scales, steel liners, fairly open construction there, just a couple back spacers. It is a little dusty because I have been carrying it quite a bit. I did switch out the pocket clip. Normally it comes on a bent steel clip, but I replaced it for this milled titanium clip. But very smooth action on that one. So I think it's snappy, it's lightweight, it's got a lot of stuff going for it. Just to get into numbers real quick, the blade length that we're looking at here is 2.9 inches from there to there. The handle length is 3.62 inches, and the overall length is 6.52 inches. So I will say this is a shorter knife than I typically prefer. 7.25 is right about my perfect length. Kind of prefer medium knife. So this, even though it is kind of on the smaller end of what I would consider a medium knife, I can get a full 4-finger grip on there. Granted, I don't have huge hands, so if you have bigger hands, maybe this doesn't work for you. Jug up a little bit, you can get 4. You can kind of jug back a little bit, get a 3.5 grip on there, especially with how that bottom chamfer is done. It is about 1.33 inches wide from what their website says, and it is a thickness of 0.45 inches excluding the pocket clip. So overall, not a very thick or heavy knife. Actually, you know what, let's go ahead and get the weight real quick too. Got my scale here for reference, and 2.655 ounces. So really quite a light knife. Anytime that you can get an everyday carry knife below about 3 ounces, I think that's pretty lightweight. But what I really like about this is that it's such a non-offensive blade shape. Like it's, you've got a flat grind there, so, but it is fairly thin behind the edge, pretty slicey, honestly. And this dark wash that they do with WE knives holds up really, really well. You can see up here, there's just a little bit on the tip. Right after I got it, I was taking off the paper on the lid of a jar of peanut butter, and funny enough, that was the only thing that really rubbed off much of the black wash that they do here. But overall, it's held up very well. It's got kind of a stone wash finish on there. But this knife, I mean, it's held a great edge. They do a great job with their heat treat. S35VN is, it's no slouch of a steel by any means. But the thing that I think is really going for this knife as far as a gentleman's carry or a CEO style carry is, I think, that blade shape, very non-offensive, not too frightening. And then also, where it's lightweight, kind of disappears in the pocket. Even if that much is sticking out, that is not particularly noticeable, or doesn't stand out too much, even with lighter color pants. So I do wear this fairly often with dress pants, and actually this clip is very nice because I think it does a good job with the retention there, but it does not tear up your pants. So honestly, this setup I think is the way to go. If you get the knife, I would recommend swapping out the clip almost right away. But the reason I think that this, a little bit wider, not too long, not too slender style is actually a better CEO knife is because I think the very long, slender knives that a lot of people put out or carry, for example, I'm thinking the CRKT, CEO, anything in that style, it has a very long, slender blade that looks, kind of similar to a stiletto knife like what I have here. This is a Frank Beltrame 9-inch stiletto with the flat grind blade. But when you're talking about a CEO knife, something like this is a pretty stabby, pokey. It's not really intended to be for doing any serious cutting tasks. You know, this is not the kind of knife that you would take to go whittle some branches or, you know, break down a ton of boxes. You know, from what I understand, originally stilettos were fighting knives, an Italian style knife. And so for the average person, this is going to be a lot less intimidating, I think, because if you pull out a really long, slender knife, it looks a little intimidating. It looks a little, you know, like you might want to stab something with it, because you know, that's kind of how those blade styles were originally intended. Whereas something like this, it's a little bit wider, it's not too long, you know, disappears in the pocket. I think it's going to be a very good option to carry and not have it be too obtrusive. But if you do need to pull it out, I mean, it's not a very scary knife. So I really liked carrying this. I think the edge held really, really well. I guess I've never actually truly resharpened it. I've stropped it a couple times. But overall, this has been a great knife, and I would 100% recommend this for anyone that's looking for something that, you know, if you, for example, work in an office or, you know, church carry or whatever it is that you do, or if you just want something a little bit more lightweight, I think this has been a really good knife, and it certainly is a good value for the money. You know, it is kind of the lower cost end of what WE Knives makes. You know, because WE being the higher end of Civivi, you know, they have the baby banters made by Civivi, and usually they use Nitro V, a little bit lower end or lower cost steels, let's say. And this one, you know, being an S35VN in carbon fiber, you know, it's, I want to say about $135 on the NAF's website, or you can find it on, you know, Amazon, most online retailers, for example, Blade HQ, you know, Knife Center, EK Knives, DLT Trading, any of those kinds of places, you should be able to find this for around that $135 mark. It is listed for $155 on the WE website, but you don't need to pay that much. So overall, would recommend this. Very snappy. Actually, you know, quick note here, it does work best with the forward flick there with the thumb. You can reverse flick. It is a little bit tight, not a problem. And I do think this would be a good one for lefties, because if you notice, there is great access to lock wire. There's a nice cutout right there, but certainly, you know, it's not too right hand oriented comparatively. I mean, I guess you can't really switch over the pocket clip on this version, but you know, would not be a bad option. So that is a few thoughts on the WE Banter and carbon fiber. Anyways, let me know your thoughts. Let me know if I missed anything, or if there's any other knives that you think are a great contender for a good everyday carry for office, dress, church, whatever it is, whatever occasion that you're looking for something a little bit more light and non-offensive.